We are back.
Africa, say it louder. Say Salam alaikum, 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 salam alaikum.
We stand divided, we fall. All we need is freedom. All we need is freedom. Free Africans free. Free from slavery, free from slavery, free as a from the slavery, free as a from the slavery, free as a from the slavery, free from slavery, free from slavery. Yeah. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here.
Just technical issues, but we are back. We are back. My guest is getting ready, staging. He'll be here momentarily. I apologize.
Salam alaikum, assalamu alaikum, salam alaikum, assalamu alaikum, salam alaikum, assalamu alaikum, salam alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, African one. If you wanna be free, the most simple one in the world. Get yourself the better winner with the music coming to you from the one of the most peaceful men. So many lying down on the streets, what about them? We are coming at the end. Get yourself the most free time and preach about freedom. Preach about freedom.
Thank you.
We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war. We're here to speak the word. We're here to stop the war.
Better look on the street as a lesson, youth. Stop violence as a lesson. You have to listen and be a man. The music we are doing is not a music for fun. We are preaching, hear it loud and clear. Day, night, and day, no sleeping at all. Let us preach, let the people hear. Better preach, let the brand feel. The sound of freedom and love. 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 Salam alaikum, Morocco. Salam alaikum, Libya. Salam alaikum, Tunisia. Salam alaikum, Nigeria. Salam alaikum, Niger. Salam alaikum, South Sudan. Salam alaikum, Sudan. Salam alaikum, South Africa. Salam alaikum, Africa. Salam alaikum, Africa. Salam alaikum. Let's unite and be free. Salam alaikum. United we stand. Salam divided we fall. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum.
One more time, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever you tune in today. Concerned Citizen of South Sudan going live, of course, Saturday, 6 October 2021. As you can see below the screen tonight, We are actually hosting a guest, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, on national issues. I apologize for inconvenience. Our system was unable, to make it right. We have some technicals with our guest, but he is staging. He will be here soon. Because I asked you go ahead and share our live broadcast. So many questions that we wanted to ask. A lot of issues of concern tonight, and I do see there my guest actually is staging here on the studio. Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. We are honored to host you tonight in this very humble forum. Please, I want to give you a podium to go ahead and greet our audience before we continue with our discussion. Thank you. Go ahead.
I thank you very much. I greet you all, and I'm here to share with you. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, one more time, we are so happy to have you in this humble forum and discuss the issue of the matter of our country. We are all aware that, and other observers also have talked about this, the failing of RCS and the rejection of national dialogue that actually was initiated by the President of the Republic and you as a member of the steering committee as well. We will get into it. But before we go there, I want to ask you a very important question here. Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, how do you evaluate the state of affairs of South Sudan after collapse of peace agreement and national dialogue? Please.
Well, with me, I don't consider the peace agreement to have collapsed or elapsed, whatever. Because the parties that signed the agreement,
yes,
under duress in Khartoum, are actually the one running the country. And they are attempting to implement the agreement in stages. The stages where they are in now is the government of national unity, represented by parties that have signed, SPLM in government, SPLM in opposition, SOA, OPP, and a group of people who are affiliated national agenda. They are
We cannot hear you, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng.
The statement that you have seen, what about it now? Do you hear me now?
It's good. It's good. Perfect.
The stage where they are in now is the formation of national legislature that is putting two houses together. And the parliament appointed 650 members representing these parties. They are in now with the purpose of legislation to make laws for. Are you hearing?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Okay, to make laws for the agreement. And the agreement is linked with the transitional constitution and the ARCAS. And the two documents are the documents that are governing the country now. Now I see it. I see it in the difficulty of these parties pulling out and the difficulties of South Sudanese thinking of a change. And I ask myself, which is the track that can bring change?
mm,
By which means, is it the same means that actually led this agreement, the round of that war 2013, 2018?
mm,
Is it the same we are going to repeat, or
mm,
do we get the section, the articles of the agreement that says you go this way and come to the end of democracy, so that by democratic means
mm,
you go to elections, and elections will actually be binding result of the change. My difficulties of physical change by force. I am convinced that using force at this time,
mm,
the politicians that are actually running these parties and the young people that are campaigning, maybe in good faith, are not seeing the result of physical change properly. But I see it this way. I see that this country, after this war, after we emerge
mm,
from referendum
mm,
and then receive the Independence Day and flag, we were all united on the forum of national space,
mm,
the nation called South Sudan. Our war had made us, all the politicians, to walk back to to their ground. The nationalities have
mm,
walked back, and actually, when they speak and they have a program,
mm,
they are almost allied to their communities, and the communities have become more stronger to an extent that what if we go to another war? Will it be fragmentation and something that look like Somalia? How will it look like? And who is that political party that will actually have the message of national leadership? We are all out of the space of national leadership now.
mm,
Have speaking to you, my comfortable constituency is Denga.
mm,
And you know, during the struggle, I have never called myself yani, in a constituency of Denga. I have always called myself all throughout my life in Khartoum as a South Sudanese. It has never happened to me. But now, with a circle of going up to telling me 64, 64 tribes,
mm,
we have never had that from the first war, Anyanya 1, the second, of course, Anyanya 2, which
mm,
was not properly organized, and the SPLM, SPLA,
mm,
very much organized in the sense of African liberation, to be spoiled by the very leaders who led the program of liberation in the midst of African liberation movement.
mm,
It is a great movement. But the quarrels among the leaders, have made them to walk back into the zone of tribalism. And this is a very dangerous zone, I tell you. You see, when I was actually uh, taken up as JCE,
mm,
it was not convenient, but I was dragged to look at the challenges that are being raised by people who are fighting for change, and at the same time, their feet on the ground of their own nationalities or tribe, call them. I don't call them tribe.
mm,
And this sent us back to the situation where we are. I'm afraid if we actually apply the second physical movement and then go by force, that is, in the bush or in the towns, I think we shall splinter. The country will not stand together. Our standing together, as I speak now, is very difficult. Whether among the intellectuals of different communities, call them different nationalities. Our nationalities in South Sudan they go up to 13 nationalities by the right of their territories, by the right of population, by the right of potential resources that can make an entity a country, by the way. Because all the entities that become a country, it is the land, the territory, the people, the potentials, and all this. Any place can be a country. We are a country because of that. So I'm asking you, how do you see it really? The way I see it is that anything else, use of force, the country will actually splinter worse than Somalia, because we and mainly Nilotics of South Sudan, because Nilotics of Northern Sudan have already disappeared. They were there up to Egypt, but they are not any longer there, and diluted to look like a complete an entity we have lost. But how do we come out of this? I roll the question back, maybe to you and Dendi Ayok. I sometimes get impressed by the way you enter into issues, and that is why I always feel to be with you and discuss more. What I see is what we can do now to put our country to the zone of liberties, freedom, democracy, and the rule of law before we go for elections. Before we go to free elections, people themselves must be free. And people themselves must come home. And people must feel that they own it and they have a voice. Why don't we cultivate this one in order to enforce democracy and the rule of law? I think let me stop here. And that is what I think. I don't want any physical confrontation in the change of power.
Thank you, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, and thank you for the compliment. And actually, you brought an issue of concern, very, very important: the fragmentation of the country, the disintegration of the country. If this is not being taken seriously, and you give a lot of details about that, and you address also how we become more tribalistic in this nation. I think we are going to address that. I have more, question. But before I move ahead, with the peace agreement that you said that you don't see it like peace have collapsed. But yesterday, the government made a decree. President Salva Kiir decreed member of parliament from states. At the same time, it should have taken place long time ago, because peace agreement was signed on September 12, 2018. Today, as I speak to you here, it's October 6, 2021, which is mean that 3 years plus. So peace agreement has not been implemented. There is no security arrangement in place. At the same time, the parties that are you talking, they are holding the position in the government. They are split. Now we have Kitgwang, we have Oling, we have So. And also, you with your colleagues within the national dialogue, it was spelled out clearly that peace agreement actually has failed. So how do you argue that this peace agreement is still alive?
No, I
Mm,
was actually a part of National Dialogue,
mm,
and until the National Conference
mm,
in the 3rd of October to the end of October,
mm,
we were convinced that we were contributing into the agreement because all the reference we have made
yes.
focus very clearly on the constitution, on the federal constitution, and that is what links us
Mm,
with Equatoria. That, and we made a very good study. If you see those documents,
mm,
the federal constitution is already done,
mm,
and we argue. We say we don't want to go the way Ethiopia Federation is.
mm,
We don't want to go in a way the Kenyan Federation is. We want to have actually get ourselves and define our federal system as a territorial self-governing federation. By territorial, I mean that supposing
mm,
starting from the region, if you begin with 3 states, for example, the amalgam of one state in Equatoria is all nationalities. And the same thing with Upper Nile, the same thing with Bargazal. And you will make a mistake to go to ethnicity, because what is in our mind is that ethnicity is a problem causing all over.
mm,
Whatever federation based on ethnicity,
mm,
that is defective and could cause always security problems. People will not integrate. And if we get a strong federation,
mm,
something without fear, because some people may say, what is our security for this country not to get divided? But another question can be raised by that question
mm,
by saying that who is the custodian of unity of South Sudan? Who is he? Which nationality that is the custodian of unity of South Sudan
mm,
or division of South Sudan? It is all of us. And if we actually secure it the German way or American way, and we shall be, or Indian way, we shall be able to contain it and sustain it very definitely. So
mm,
we actually went for territorial, self-governing federal system of government. Now, with that, it is a try to, we argue very long, push
mm,
us out of this ethnicity propaganda politics of ethnicity. Because we fought the war, we only knew ethnicity fighting by making our movements and liberation movement in concerned territories of Upper Nile, territories of Equatoria, and territories of Barghazal. And we did not mean division of the country into tribes, into zone, and so on. So we did that, and we came out from the national dialogue united, with the hope that these parties in the unity government will take up and look at this document. This document is very rich. It is a very rich document, and I'm sure the future generation will base one day the manifesto of their own party, which I want to encourage you that the time is to form a different party. If you are fed up with SPLM, why don't you form another party? Why should we actually go on like others, speaking for 64 tribes? I'm telling you, I have never missed even my own campaign as JC was provoked by a certain group of people, by a certain group of the same politicians that led the SPLM became tribalists. And some of us could not help. And that was, I think it has ended with the agreement. Now, my call is this. We need another conference of our own. Those parties who call themselves political parties, the 53 parties, they need to regroup together. And if they doubt, they make a conference in order to dialogue of how they piece up together and save this country than individual doing it alone, because it is possible for them to have a conference, because in the government they are not working together. They are not working together. All this you have seen, defections and counter defections, are things being made by people who are political leaders, who should believe that you organize your party as a leader. And you know, in the political parties, the president of the party or the chairman of the party is always a dictator in politics. The most dictator is the head of the party. And you can see it in America, you can see it in Europe, you can see it everywhere. The politician that run a party and won by convention tend like dictating the followers or his own group working together. This is absent now in South Sudan. People are actually not working together, not committed to the country. Lack of commitment and lack of trust and confidence. And without confidence, how can you come out with a collective decision as a government in the interest of people? You cannot make it. And this is where we have got a rift. We have to say it very clearly. And I want you people out there to really try to close the gaps. The gaps are so wide and wild that this gap can send us into disaster, into chaos. And the chaos cannot be collected together with ease. They are always difficult. They are made, and once they are oriented, you cannot come back from them. They will always engage you, and you will not actually be engaged in addressing the issues of the nation. Now, you people or the government, there are no priorities set. What is that we should actually focus on? What is it? The first thing is peace and national security. A country without one army cannot actually make any progress. We must see together. If a country has no national army, what is the resort? When there are difficulties, where do you resort? Which institution can you resort to? The institution that is actually assigned to protect the country is very important. If that institution that protects the country, which is non-political and non-tribal, non-everything, except engagement of protecting the national interest. Then here there is a big thing absent. You cannot do without it. So the change of government without one army by politicians is bothering us, my friends. I see you are really dedicated. You want to have something for your country. But we need more putting all these ideas together and polish them and actually create the process. How do we go it to save this country? How do we get out of all these chains we have created? And this is my problem. This is my really problem of how to get our country together and how we can actually come together as the same people by 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 in by by in by inserting equality, justice, and all everything, democracy. We have been together. We have been very good people. And when I talk like this, I'm not against anybody, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I don't know whether my wisdom is correct or wrong, because I always predict about Sudan. Yani, when the Sudan revolution came, yani, what I said about it, by army and civilians setting up two governments, and they say they will actually end up by delivering democracy to people. I said it has never happened. To see an amalgam of civilian and army and saying that we are going to have 2 years and we shall actually give out democracy. Now, if I tell you that I supported the statement of Burhan, you can be astonished. That why do I talk about democracy and then talk about Burhan? Simply because Burhan say Khartoum has never actually, Khartoum politicians, civil, has never solved any problem. They have never done it. And that Khartoum people who attempted to solve problem were from the army. Numeri did and give all the alertness to South Sudanese. And that is why the second war, SPLM, 1983, 2005, became strong. It gave us something that strengthened us. And also Bashir came and accepted the referendum. The absence of civilian in Khartoum is very great, wide, because our people, we have been together, is Nuba Mountains, is Darfur, is Eastern Sudan, Khartoum itself, and Northern Sudan. We are suffering the same. Our own people who are there, the same suffering, the same problems facing them. They have never moved all these years to anything. If you go to Darfur, you get in the village like that. Even Khartoum, where our people live, the black people, is worse than it was. So we have to cultivate something that can, at this stage, you people outside and we inside here, let us advocate a conference, even if that you call it a conciliation conference or dialogue, and put it somewhere, even if it is outside, sponsored by the same people, IGAD. I'm sorry if I say IGAD, Africans are always spoiled by the West, whether this is America or Europe. Always, there are spoilers of a program as Africans. And these people cannot help us amicably to come out of our problem. If they were to help us, Congo would be good now. You see, Zimbabwe would be good because there was no mistake so much made by Mugabe, except the share of land and the share of farms, and so on. South Africa is still in problem, and they do with us. At the beginning, they tell us that they will pay for infrastructure. None of them. There is no single African country liberated and decolonized. And they came in really to pay for infrastructure in order for us to get the process of development, social or economic. Now, they have been with us, Troika, and the UNAMIS you are hearing. But what is the use of these people? The use of these people is the same like what they did in Congo. And we have a very clear advocacy. And you know, the problem of Africa is that my book is coming out in January on the SPLM. Our problem is that we succeeded to liberate ourselves. And every African country like us in South Sudan, the failure and corruption is always the top. The answer is this thing of failure of Africa done against us, or is it genetic for Africans to fail by governing themselves? And even Ethiopia, which has never had any colony, any colonizers, is failing now. It's failing now to govern. So we have a problem of not knowing to govern. But it is not us. Something is sneaking, and that is new colonialism and imperialism. This dollar, the floating of dollar, is the money, is imperialism. As I speak in South Sudan, I'm not for IMF and I'm not for World Bank. The question is, if they were available, what did they do in building any single country, including South Africa? Let us think together. I hope that we don't need prayers. We need to get our experiences and look forward what we can do to save our country, because it is we that can save it together. And if it means together, let us actually not get our problem into personal conflicts and personal hatred, personal dislike, and so on. We will miss everything at the end. So that is what is me. I'm not sharing with everybody, but this is how I see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Aldo Ajo, you raise a very good point, a lot of point of concern here. You raise a point that we need to come together because this country is getting disintegrated the way it's heading. You also talk about how people need to be given opportunity to express their views, because if you don't talk, if I don't talk, if we are not allowed to do so, how are we going to have a collective ideas that we are going to build nation? Of course not. Now, South Sudan Constitution under Article 24 and 25, amended in 2015, indicate every citizen have right to express themselves, right of assembling, right of organization, right of so. Now, when you say that we need to be together, those who are outside and those who are inside, and we can explore and express ourselves, so we can come out with a conquered ideas to build this nation. At the same time, the government is not allowed such a thing to happen. You're already aware that there are some political detainees in Kwelagor. Our own son from northern Baragazal has been detained for speaking out. What would be your advice then to those in the leadership? Because it is the same government at the same time is preventing people from speaking out. And there is nothing can be done without allowing people to express themselves. I want to get your views on this before I move to my next question.
Thank you very much. This is actually a concern of all of us. This concern of all of us is very important. Now, the question is 10. The question is 10 that now the government of unity is shared by political parties.
Mm.
And the political parties are not speaking to their supporters. They actually get themselves accommodated and cut off themselves, not actually declaring uh, democracy, freedom of expression,
Mm.
and also freedom of movement and liberties for people who are restricted and living abroad.
Mm.
This is something we are going to have it in this assembly. Are we parties and are we talking in a sense of political parties and democracy? And what is absent there? Because if we don't address this, none of us can come out of it. Whether you are the one ruling or you are the one opposed,
Mm.
because the power of physical change
Mm.
can actually produce the same behavior and the same attitude of mind. Our attitudes of mind all over is something that look like you change and revenge. And when you take the law into your hands to
Mm.
revenge, which people say it is a wild justice. If you become wild and take the wild justice, which is the revenge, everybody will actually what protect uh, himself herself by the same means, and the same means of apply become a vicious circle. You cannot come out. Now you think about how do we break this thing,
Mm.
because every party, and not you young people, you have not created a party. You are actually campaigning to feed into your country. I know your attitude. This is you want to be free and contribute. But these parties now, what do we do? They are not talking to their supporters, by the way.
Mm.
They are not actually designating the agreement. They have no rallies together. They don't talk together. And that attitude, if it does not change, anything will be something that is a process of wild justice, that is to revenge. And revenge produces counter revenge. And you get out. Let
Mm.
us actually come out
Mm.
to, to advocate freedom. I will be with you. We have to advocate liberties, freedom of expression, and freedom of assembly within the limit of the law. It is the law that governs.
Mm.
And you are all educated. You are really people who have learned more than our time. Our time people were few, including myself. I just joined to rejoin the school when
Mm.
I was two. When I left Khartoum in 1993,
Mm.
I started to get back to education, and thank God, I think I have caught some areas
Mm.
of learning. Uh, and I have to remind you, if we don't put our country together,
Mm.
we are not coming. We are not going to come out from the chains of revenge and counter revenge and mentality of getting a government to punish your opponent. And this is a shared issue. You young people, you have to share it correctly and come out. The other thing is that our country, we are not this. It look like saying capitalism.
Mm.
Yani, the economy we have now is stuck. It is not actually in the capitalism way in the West, and it is not a
Socialist.
socialist
Mm.
economy. And we are expected in a place like this, poverty, and people are not earning anything. to go a socialist way. We are Africans here. We want to save ourselves. Socialism will save some people, including China. And we cannot have people being created to be millionaires overnight. We have got a lot of problems to address, Jonkor. We have got a lot of problems to address. If we push out this attitude of revenge and this attitude of using force to quiet your opponent, we will not make it. We will not make it. You are saying that Riek and Salva Kiir must go by force. You see? And they are saying the same thing. Anybody against me, I'm against him. How do we get out from this chain? We have to have thinkers and try to work out how do we get out to save our country. Can we save it this way? In this way we cannot save it, and we shall not save ourselves, by the way. And we are sorry, we are going as elders, but the way you remain to address yourself, remain, we will leave it. And those who have gone before us, we will tell them that it is a mystery there. There is nobody addressing the issues of national livelihood. This is what I see. To say this, see, that is why I say we have to have a conference for people, all of us, to feel that they are part and parcel of the deal and doing this. Nobody will be punished. That is my problem. And especially the SPLM leadership is the one that created it. Like you are talking, you are SPLM young person, you have been in war. And when I speak now, I only praise the SPLA because the SPLA fought until we voted and we became independent and fought properly. But what is it after we become a government? Where is it? SPLA itself is being called by Southerners that it is a militia. By South Sudanese who have been fighting, who have been holding guns, defending the country, and they know how SPLA fought Khartoum. And Khartoum was an army of the whole Arab world, by the way, whole Middle East. And they fought it at the face of the Arab, and they came out. Now, the politicians, the mess up is the leadership of, some say it is the absence of John Garang, it is the absence of who, but with South Sudanese, even if John Garang were there, they would oppose him. And you know, some of them came out to oppose John Garang when John was active. See?
Thank you.
There must be some devices of knowledge to see what we can do now together and stop anything called war. Anybody with attitude of war, we should take that person as an enemy, all of us. Because we cannot make it. We cannot make it any longer. Who can go to war and with who?
Thank you. Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, as we are talking about the values of expression, liberty and justice and prosperity, people of South Sudan have been patient for a very long time, for 16 years. And you all know about this. Now, when I ask you this question, that people are not giving an opportunity to speak out. And now you talk about the conference. And when someone tried to set up a conference to speak, just speaking, explore their ideas, they are a target of national security. How do you address those who are in charge, those who are arresting people? The leadership is the one that doing this. It's not ordinary South Sudanese. Are not political parties are the one doing this. Are the one who are in charge with the guns. So how do you address them to quit this mentality? As you call it, the culture of revenge, and allow people to, to express, so we can come out with the conquered ideas that will build this nation. What do you tell them?
Well, what I can tell you is that This one,
Mm.
freedoms and the rest of the thing I'm saying cannot come alone,
Yes.
because we are not the first to fight ourselves. The world has been like that, and all the time changing to the best. And we have you people who are learning and learn know that what was America, where you
Oh.
are,
Mm.
what stages that they underwent, and what did they do to become United States today? If you take it from where they came from, the same thing with West Germany. The same thing happened even in the Middle East,
Mm.
uh, and everywhere. But people manage to overcome it. Why not us? There is nothing. We are human as they are. They actually got into those problems and they managed to come out. If we actually soberly go in to say, let us get out of this,
Mm.
we can get out without injury to anybody. But are we doing it? Our mind is a political of revenge, politics of revenge, politics of hatred, politics of jealousy, see, politics of prejudice and dislike. Yeah, this kind of thing does not work. It actually will throw a hard way until some people discover when it is worth to come out of it. Yeah, Anna, this is what I think, because we are not an island. We came and we are lucky to have learned from others who actually managed to overcome their difficulties. Jonkur, if we go down and soberly look
Mm.
at our country and all of us get committed, this democracy, rule of law, and freedom, we can bring it with ease. Human being can be turned very suddenly, because we have now seen the suffering, an example of which people say, what is the cause? You see, the cause is war, our own war, and our own differences. That is why we are today 53 parties. I know what you are saying, but what example can we take?
Mm.
This is the problem I have. And the way we are approaching it, see, so and so must go to hell and so must come in, is not going to save us. The leaders who are doing this would have saved us if they were really tough in the SPLM.
Mm.
The, the country would be together now. But they miss it. They miss it, and they want to tell us that so and so must go and so come in. Who comes in and who goes? See? But can we actually determine to punish them? No. We can actually try to see that they went wrong, but they should come this way. And I want to tow the senses of unity over the chaos we have created. You see, and actually get ourselves together and create an attitude. See, of giving of getting an opponent a contributor also to the country
Mm.
in a way of national issues, not the way of private things and what has happened to us. See, today at Jonko, the whole country is going without drinking water because they are bypassed poverty below
Poverty.
and deep deep in the poverty plus the absence of everything, no food, nothing. You cannot believe it how they are going this way. And it is west, more west, in Bargaza. Upper Nile is better. Rang is there. See, Equatoria is better because Western Equatoria can have food, even Eastern Equatoria. But your own area is the West. People are deserting either to Khartoum or come to Juba. If you go to your village, you will be astonished. And I think you are you may be YouTube. Some people may pick up the faces of people there. Do we go this way, or do we accept whoever made a mistake?
Get close to the microphone.
Is that the way we should go? That is how I was saying. Are you hearing now?
Yeah, it's good now. Continue,
Right.
Dr. Aldo.
Well, that is what I can say, because we are not an island. We have example of the past, and we have the countries that overcame the difficulties they created and became countries to be reckoned with now, and we can do the same. Why not?
Thank you, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng. Now, you touched the very important point. Every concern that average South Sudanese, whether in Barkazal or in Upper Nile, in rural area, because our population are in the rural area, and they are suffering, as you said, they are deserting the country. They are going to Khartoum, they are going to the Western Sudan, and so forth. People are suffering, not drinking water, as you indicated. At the same time, the country is producing oil, and the country got amount of money. So now when we talk about there was a war, but there are some part of the country. Now let's talk about our own state of Northern Barghazal. There was no war there. Why then government didn't do any developmental project, agriculture? Why they did not do this? Those who are really, if they really care about the people. These are the things sometimes make people frustrated, and that's why an average South Sudanese, as someone who is concerned, that's why we are saying that all the options have been exhausted. War, peace agreement, negotiation, wasata, you name it, have been exhausted. But nothing come out of this. And that's why people are calling the only way that we can address those leaders who don't want this country to move forward is to go to the street and protest and say enough is enough. Don't you see that's our right? Since our leaders don't have a moral obligation to move this country to the next level, don't you see that our right to go to the street and protest, to tell them, you have failed us for all this time, but we need drinking water. We need a school for the orphan, for the children of martyrs, for the widow. Don't you see that, Dr. Aldo Ajo, is a right for every South Sudanese to cry out that loud? Go ahead.
Now, Jonkor, who is to blame, really? To blame, in the first blame is the original leadership of SPLM.
Okay.
Because when we came in after CPA, they were the one that took the governance. All of them were ministers. And when they dispersed and went for their war in 2013, as a young person, you watch it, you have seen it. No other people actually that ignited this fire today. And before that, they were the one in 1991, you see, and they were the one in 2013. They were the one in 2016, and they are the one now. Now, this kind of thing is being blanketed by some politicians, and they are the one who are actually running politics. They have splintered, and wherever you go for negotiation, there are no other people except they. What in your forum, what do you say about these people? Can they really save this country anymore? I think to single out some of them and leave some of them out is a disservice. It's not just. You have not done justice properly. It is the leadership of SPLM who have come back now and are the ones chairing the government. Who is new there? We were away in Khartoum or outside the country. I have no place. I have no place, and I know they cannot listen to me. What do you say about them? Because you like some of them to come back to power, and you don't like some of them. I think we have to get ourselves together and figure point and say who caused this war and who are they? You have to be very comprehensive in saying that, my friends. You have formed so many parties with your link of the SPLA, and every party you form, you form a party and the army. Things we cannot happen in a country. How many armies do you want to have? And this is, we are seeing it. And now you say you want democracy. And democracy, before it actually get on the ground, must eliminate the intention to do force. Because how do I form a party and the army? Why? Okay, a party can be rebel. You can be a rebel as a political party, you want to change. But why do you form another army? And you don't believe in your army. You don't trust your national security. You trust nothing. How do you fit in? Okay? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you very well. I do.
Okay.
I do. Well, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, we are moving ahead. Now, I want to talk a little bit about national dialogue, and then I will come back to the issue of federalism.
It's 0 hours.
Now,
Okay.
national dialogue steering committee came out with a credible document. As you put it from the beginning, that actually it would have been a good references in the future. And South Sudanese from 79 counties, they have spoken. And they want this country to move forward. And that's why they stated clearly. But the leadership rejected the final resolution of the national dialogue. You, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, Angelo Bieder, Bona Malwaring, Joshua Dow, and others, are you disappointed from the rejection of that?
Of course, we are not disappointed because we have done our job and the documents are available. We did it very well, successfully. And all South Sudanese, inside and abroad, participated, with exception of one person, Dr. Riek Machar, who actually called his representatives out before the final resolution of the conflict. And is standing aloof up to now. But Salva Kiir received the documents. Received the documents, and documents are available with him. What I'm saying is that
Mm.
we were involved, are not going to leave these documents whatsoever, because we know that we have done it through the people of South Sudan.
Mm.
4 years is a total school for people to learn. 4 years going to down the line and come back up. This one is not simple. All South Sudanese have said. And it ended up with peace, reconciliation, healing, and accountability.
Mm.
We have put all these things there. We are not going to retreat whatsoever. But I tell you one thing. People who are out there, people called Soma, they are not recognizing it. And people here also who were actually leading the SPLM are not recognizing it. They think that this national dialogue is a work of puppets, people who were not with us as liberators, and we are getting disappointed. Disappointed with you all, including you. They are not recognizing us. They are still calling us bad names. And they are still feeling that we are excluded. Even our own children are not getting employment. What do we think we are? We have done a job for South Sudan, and that is a job well done. So, in future or now, to transform this country, people will look for this document. They are ready made and studied, and people of South Sudan have spoken. Anybody that will turn it down, my friend, and this we get election, free election and transparent, those people who will turn it down, the national dialogue will be defeated. They will not be elected. Let me tell you. That is a document amicably without prejudice to transform South Sudan, see, as a whole. And we are actually we were created by British as 3 regions, and we are always 3 provinces in an agreement.
Dr. Aldo Ajo, let me interject. Actually, I was skeptical from the beginning about the national dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay? But at the end, when the resolution came out and I read the resolution, and my colleagues, we at the United Citizens for Change, actually, we agree with national dialogue. Now, we do, because actually it can deliver and it can bring change that is needed, peaceful change that needed. But now, it's the government is the one that rejected it. And that's why I keep asking you a question. Are you not disappointed? Because you have put a lot of effort, you work on it with the people of South Sudan on the ground from 79 counties. And this was the only hope. Are you not disappointed that President Kiir has it and he decided to put it in a drawer and not talk about it? And it's the same person that actually initiated.
I'm not disappointed because the SPLM in government has not rejected it. But those who are the party to national government, the unity government, are not clear, by the way, about this. They are not clear. So I say they are not clear. Even you people in this forum, you are not clear about it. You actually respected it after it came out.
Yes.
But during the time we are working it out, your advocacy was very thin, by the way. Why was that? I tell you, it is the same parties who are not committed to national issues which are the problem. It is not SPLM in government led by Salva Kiir alone. SPLM-IO is there. Others groups like SOA are there. Another group like Soma, whose people are making efforts to bring them, they are there. They are rejecting what we have done, and they can cite our names, by the way. They don't like us as elders. We are not accepted as elders. Huh? This is it is a problem.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Continue.
So it is a problem which is shared by so many parties. They are not committed, and some of them I have not read it even. They assume that something with Bona Malwal, Aldo Ajo, and all this is not going to work, because these people are not liberators. They were collaborators. We know it. And my friend, we are coming out. We are coming out. We are not going to sit quiet after these 16 years. We have spent excluded, and we know we have been always excluded. See? We know it because we have enough experience, and we know how government are run. We are not in the inner circle. Jonkor.
When you said coming out, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, and actually we believe in real change, and that change that we believe is for all. We believe in that in change, because we need change. In order for this country to move forward, it must see change. In order for South Sudan to see the light at the end of the tunnel, South Sudan must change.
Change against who?
Change against the failure. Change against the corruption.
And who are they?
You know that, Aldo Ajo Deng.
Do you know how many of them who have taken money? We have records, by the way.
Yeah, the government and those who were in the government,
some of your leaders, the people you favor, are even worse.
I don't favor anyone. I don't favor anyone. I favor people of South Sudan. I don't favor anyone. I do not favor anyone.
Okay.
Yes. So now, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, thank you. Let me move on to the next section. Federalism. You have been talking a lot about federalism. What kind of does federalism work for South Sudan, and what kind of federalism actually suit for South Sudan?
I said it before that the suitable federation for South Sudan is twofold. One, and we have actually linked it with the United States, successful federations, Germany, India, and others. We have said, and it is documented, that the suitable federation for South Sudan shall be territorial and self-governing states in which the security is shared. It is the responsibility of that state, in which the development of resources will be shared between federal government and state government by sharing some powers that belong to the president, the powers that can actually create an international agreement for investment. We want to make it something in which all the people can easily share, because what is the meaning of sharing power? What is the meaning of sharing resources? Sharing resources does not mean that you give me money and pay me. Sharing resources is actually to get the people, if we have definitely identified our problems. Our problems are regional. Equatoria is talking alone. And Upper Nile now has started a dialogue. They want to come together. And Barghazal may start it. These are areas where people can easily share and come together. People must be touched of everything. As we speak now, the whole thing, it is not in, intentional to exclude others, but by way of practice and management, some people have found themselves excluded in the in the resources of South Sudan, and also in protection as citizens, and it has happened. So why do we make it territorial? Because in every territory there are nationalities, and they have to be there together. Whether we are going to be 10 states, less than 10 states, or more, it will be decided by criteria that sets a state. To answer the question, what is the criteria for any area to become a state? Population, potential resources, whatsoever you will put there. That will be the criteria used. But we completely came out not to go and create ethnicity states like in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
There's already run to a danger with Tigray, and Oromo is warming up, and so on. It is a bad one. The one of Nigeria is territorial. They did not divide with Muslims and Christians and so on. It is territorial, although the eastern Nigeria, Igbos, are discontented with the south and the north. Nevertheless, it is better than that. But we are going definitely on that line, and that is the line we have suggested. People will research more input, and I think it will be the best for South Sudan because we have so much raised very dangerous propaganda of calling people even tribes. And you know, this word came from where? From Greeks, by getting some group of people together in the slavery, and they call them a tribe or a family. It is not a good word to use, and we are using it now. So that is what we have selected, and more can come to you people by making a research. Which one can really make us one country? Which kind of federation? Satisfactory to ours, so that we should avoid to fragment in future. Because our identity now and the language we speak is not yet developed. We are just South Sudanese and Africans. That is not enough. We must be something.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng. But I got this. I live in the state of Washington, that far western United States of America. And actually, I kind of enjoy the federalism in the United States. Now I live in the state of Washington for 4 years. The Constitution of this state indicate if I wanted to run for public office here in this state, I must be resident for 2 years. Resident for 2 years. That's why I like the American federalism. Okay. Now, how are you going to convince an average South Sudanese that actually the federalism we need, it is not a division, it is just territorial, keeping in mind that there's a lot of voices saying that your name is Galwak, go to your place. You name it, Lado, go to where you belong. How that's going to be really work in South Sudan? Do we really need federalism, or we need allocation of the resources?
Well,
Mm,
the system that will actually allocate
mm,
and actually share the resources
mm,
is no another system suitable than federation. Because you see, we were brought together by foreigners.
mm,
Before 1899, we were not any country. We were also in our own villages and living alone without knowledge of another.
mm,
But the way they brought us in, they brought us together and display the politics of divide and rule. And we live under British for over 50 years, divided, uh, divide and rule, which happened in South Sudan. And you know our provinces and
mm,
our districts were created like that until the British won. And then when we were in with Khartoum, Khartoum made it even worse, divided us more. Even in the last war, uh, you can count how many militias created by South Sudanese and now brought to be a part of the army of SPLA. That was actual divide and rule attempt in order to dismantle us. It did not succeed, thank God, because we emerged as one in the referendum and we voted 99% together.
mm,
Now, the surge is how best can we stay together?
mm,
We are not accepting to divide our country. How best? How best is what brought us to this territorial and self-governing kind of what is with you in the United States. In order to have the resources, have the same. I live from Juba, of Central Equatoria,
mm,
and when I go to WOW, I find the same services. I just now you are in Washington. If you live for Chicago,
mm.
you will find the same conditions where people are living, and that's what we want. When you do this, you will not be bothered by dividing, and that is what we have seen. That is it is the only best way for people who are actually not really integrated to get integrated through this means of sharing power
Mm.
through uh, a federal system or decentralization. And this is a must. This is how we see it. And this is how countries have succeeded to get united. Whether this is India, the Indian subcontinent failed because of religion, Muslims versus Hindus and all that. But the United States or Germany did not fail really. And that is why we link it to that. But it is subject to more development if we want to remain as one country. If we want to disintegrate, put in anything like what is going on now. It can encourage disintegration.
Mm.
And that is what we don't want, because we actually voted together and welcome our flag together, and suddenly we were let down by politicians of one party, the SPLM. And you know that.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Aldo Joe, before I go to my last question, since we are all aware that peace agreement is not going anywhere, national dialogue has been put in drawer, disappointment, crisis, communal conflict in the country, hunger, flooding, and citizens are leaving deserting the country. Would you
Well,
support the light-minded South Sudanese who are saying that
well,
change is the only
well,
option, peaceful
well.
uprising? Would you support that?
My belief is this:
Mm.
I better have bad peace rather than no peace, because the fragility of
Mm.
our country is very high, and I better get this bad peace and stage a dialogue, continue dialogue over issues that are contained. Because at the end of the day, if we are nationals, we can actually get ourselves on a dialogue on areas we were given to us by foreigners, especially Khartoum, led by Bashir, which actually got have got some kind of the fact that doing in the merry way, that's how Sudan will shall disappear again to become a part of Khartoum. That was in their mind when they did this peace.
Mm.
And if we are mature, we can continue to dialogue on this bad peace and make it good for our country, because it is the nation that we care. Why not? So with me, bad peace now is better than than a good peace, because you cannot get a good peace, by the way, when you are severe and you are warring and you are always peace come like that. Uh, the the Second World War did not produce actually,
CPA was a good piece.
but people made it better by creating the UN Security Council and so on, and they went on continue making dialogue up to now. The world is dialoguing how they can actually maintain peace and security worldwide. So the affairs of nation cannot end at a go. There are gaps that continue really to be focused on. And this is what I believe. Let us actually get to peace, get to our country and try to dialogue over issues we differ. And we can make it happen. And that is what I believe. And I cannot actually agree to people going back to war. A
Of
war
course.
which become nuisance because it is a war which is actually uh, backed by sections. For example, the last war we were in Juba
Mm.
defending the government called the government of Denga, and the Nuers were there with the future government of Nuers. This we don't want. We don't want people politics of that kind. They are not natural, and they can divide our country more. Let us go national and let us actually continue to dialogue on this bad peace.
Thank you. Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, there's a lot of political detainees in the country. And it's go back to the point that we talk about people should be given an opportunity to express, to assemble, to weigh their views. Former governor of North Bahar Ghazal Kwel Agwar Kwel is under detention without being taken to the court. Abraham Cholwal, a religious leader, is still under detention. And all of a sudden there is silence in the country. I don't see, we don't hear anyone speaking out, politician, on this. What is your take on this? Kwelagor is still under detention.
Rightly, people
Mm,
are speaking out. Like you are speaking out, by the way,
I am.
and you are concerned.
Mm,
And others are there now inside South Sudan,
mm.
and they have actually formed themselves civil society. And they are talking, by the way, although they are separately talking. I'm sure
Mm.
all this can be reversed only by legislation, by making laws. And in the absence of legal system, like you know,
Mm.
the police now, law enforcement is not available, and the judiciary itself is almost absent in in making this mitigation. And this one have to be corrected by us, as I told you.
Mm.
If we come together, all this will be corrected, and legislation, those will be enforced. Now, we are actually overwhelmed by complete lawlessness. How do you see that one can be designed and brought up by one political party
Mm.
or one political group? Never. I agree with you. Still, there is more to talk about, and how to get uh, these freedoms and get the rule of law. In the absence of rule of law, how can you help? That is the main thing. It's not there.
Okay. Well, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, uh, finally, I want you to send a message of hope, message that we want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We fought for justice, liberty, and prosperity. These are the core values. People of South Sudan, from northern Bahr al Ghazal, from eastern Equatoria, from all the way northern Upper Nile, from Buma, they went to bear arms so we can be free, so we can have decency. And today, the widow are begging, the orphan are begging, sons and daughters of martyrs are not getting schooling. The elites are the one enjoying the wealth of the nation. I want you to send your final message. I don't know if you are here, but I'll wait. I apologize. He will be back. I'm waiting for my guest. Yes, we apologize. Actually, I should have.
Yonkur, I'm here.
Yeah. I don't know if you hear my question, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng. And I can repeat it one more time.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the
You
fight,
say?
I'm saying my question is the fight was about to have justice, liberty, prosperity, not to be marginalized, to be free, to express, right? That's what fight all about. But today, 16 years with no clean water, 16 years with no security, 16 years with suffering and communal violence. Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, today in roads, in Awil, orphan are begging, widow are begging. Even the widow of Matianganyor are suffering, right? There is no pension. The army are not getting their salary on time. 6 months, 7 months, and but still, because they are people of integrity, they have still their dedication to that country. What is the message of hope? That South Sudan will see the light at the end of the tunnel. What is your message to the people of South Sudan? We have been suffering. We've been patient for a long time.
The
Go
message for people of South Sudan
ahead.
tonight, and only for me, not really shared by with anybody.
Mm.
In the first place, we happily had our independence in 2011.
Yes.
Very happy one. Some of us who have been in politics for a long time shed tears when we saw our flag going up with happiness. To be disappointed after 2 years of our own war, very unreasonable war, and the people who started it call it senseless war. It is senseless. And my message is that let us not continue with senseless war. Let us actually cultivate our own way of dialogue. Be sober, all of you. We have injured ourselves, our feeling. And we know that you are telling the truth of what has happened to our people. They are suffering. They are dying of everything. But because of their suffering, we have to discontinue the suffering of our people by dialogue over the issues you are talking about, Jonko. They are very important. And if we don't get the dialogue, the only weapon we have among ourselves, and identify where we went wrong, identify the mistakes we have made, identify the exclusion, and if anything has happened to others, so that we actually come to act and put the country together, because it is our country, and make it continue to be one. I encourage, because South Sudanese are very good people, and South Sudanese are resilient and very patient. The patience we have and resilience is higher, more higher, if you compare with other African countries. We cannot be the same like Congo. And we are so enlightened that if we come together in good faith, we can retrieve this country and we can end our suffering by addressing the issues you are talking about. Mismanagement, corruption, and everything, they can be managed. Although corruption is a wild literature in Africa, very wild, everywhere. Our people would need money from any devil all over the world. And we cannot end it alone in South Sudan. And the hope is that let us get to peace and let us talk. We will get the people who are irrelevant among yourselves. We will get people who are irrelevant, especially the young generation, which is now emerging. You have to be together. Because don't concentrate on aging people or aged people. It is you. If you are seen together addressing the national issues, our people will be given hope that something is going on and something is going to change. But if you are only quarreling and fighting, people get scared about you. And people will not believe that you are going to change and become a good government. When your behavior and your way of talking is the same, you are considered to be carrying your own justice in your hand in order to revenge. My hope is peace and no war. My hope is dialogue for our people, continuous dialogue, in order to discover what divides them. You see, and push away and take what unites them. What unites South Sudanese is easy to do. But now, there are communities like Denka or Nuer who have replaced the Arabs. People see them as really very dangerous, and we want to advise them. They first have to come together, because the leaders have refused to come together. So my hope is peace. And I want to persuade people that peace is the best over which we can dialogue and work out what we can do for ourselves. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, Filkhitam, thank you so much at the end. And actually, next time, I would like to host you on the history matters so we can talk about the history of South Sudan inclusively. I really, really appreciate you for staying night and being here tonight as a host on Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. Thank you. Have a lovely night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Young God.
With that, I think I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much, viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. We dedicated this day tonight to host Dr. Aldo Ajo Deng, in the matters of national. We will continue doing this. It's so crucial to bring all these issues to our people attention, and we keep, what needed to happen. This country is our country, and we were fighting for justice, liberty, and prosperity. We cannot afford any more suffering. Our people have suffered more than enough. So thank you so much for tuning in and being part of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. Next week, we'll see you. Good night.
Man run well kepada cenya, perlagi diri siapa monjang ni cakap lengan yai cakap wena man ni kaya man run well kepada cenya. Oh banu gade chol, baca cera nukulek, jangan lihat mereka bainam dari ranjam tu wiji bainam lakuannya kejol kangkang tinggal luar jiwa gak, biayain kongkap, jol bantah kemana luar kian nama tu kebutap. Your children nyanda zambana chuno masaki daire ni salam pagar by big by queer alaga la chi area jinal manu je kina na chok un kan kin mai kutin je kan che bai ku moin da kin mai balman maru mi cha benwe we ga kwatla ni chi chen kwara che bating ranga loy ka ke ku balun ka ba kwatla ni chi chen kwatla che bating ranga loy ka ke ku we kwedom. Mami je kina na chok, kun kan kin mai, kutin je kan che bai, ku moin ja kin mai, palman maru mi cha benwe, we ga kwadla ni chi chen kwadra che ban tingirandet, loy ka ke ku barun mi, ka ba kwadla ni chi chen kwadla che ban tingirandet, loy ka ke ku we kwedom.